Daniel Brooks was late for work when he noticed a woman standing beside a disabled car near the hospital entrance. She was pregnant, breathing quickly, and clutching her stomach. Daniel stopped. He knew his supervisor hated delays, but leaving her alone felt impossible, especially with the hospital just blocks away. The woman introduced herself as Claire, though Daniel noticed she seemed distracted by increasing pain. She tried calling someone, but her phone showed no service. Daniel immediately offered his truck. Claire hesitated, explaining that she needed medical attention urgently. Daniel opened the passenger door and helped her inside carefully. Daniel drove toward the hospital while Claire struggled to remain calm. He kept asking whether she needed anything, and she repeatedly told him to keep driving. Daniel glanced at the clock. His shift had started 15 minutes earlier. He knew his supervisor would probably fire him for another absence. When they reached the hospital, Daniel jumped out and called for assistance. Nurses quickly brought a wheelchair while Claire was taken inside. Before disappearing through the doors, she grabbed Daniel's hand and thanked him. He smiled, told her everything would be okay, then hurried back toward his truck. Daniel arrived at work nearly an hour late. His supervisor, Mark, was waiting beside the garage office with crossed arms. "Where were you?" Mark demanded. Daniel explained what happened, but Mark barely listened. The garage was short-staffed, customers were waiting, and Mark said Daniel's personal choices had become unacceptable. Mark handed Daniel his final paycheck and told him he was fired. Daniel stood silently, shocked that helping someone could cost him his job. He needed that income to support his 8-year-old daughter, Mia. Still, he refused to regret stopping. Some decisions were worth more than money, he believed. That evening, Daniel returned home and told Mia what happened. She listened quietly while eating dinner, then hugged him. "You helped her, Dad. That makes you good, not bad." Daniel smiled, though worry remained. Their rent was due soon, groceries were expensive, and his savings would not last long. Across town, Claire was recovering in a private hospital room after safely delivering her baby girl. Her husband had been traveling overseas, and doctors had warned that the birth could have become dangerous without immediate treatment. Claire kept thinking about the stranger who had stopped everything to help her. Claire eventually asked a nurse about Daniel. The nurse knew his name because hospital security had recorded his truck's license plate. Claire discovered he was a local mechanic who had recently lost his job. She was stunned. Then she learned something even more surprising. Daniel had never asked her name, money, or reward. Claire was actually the CEO of Sterling Mobility, a major transportation company with repair facilities throughout the region. Her company employed hundreds of mechanics and technicians. When she heard Daniel had been fired for helping her, she immediately asked her assistant to locate his former employer and investigate what happened. The next morning, Claire arrived at Daniel's small apartment with her newborn daughter and an assistant. Daniel opened the door wearing an old sweatshirt, surprised to see the woman from the hospital. Claire thanked him personally. Daniel simply asked whether she and the baby were healthy. Claire told Daniel who she was, and his expression changed. He had seen Sterling Mobility vehicles everywhere, but never imagined the woman he helped was its CEO. Claire explained that she wanted to offer him a job. Daniel hesitated, afraid accepting charity would make him feel indebted. Claire quickly corrected him. "This isn't charity. I need people who make difficult decisions for the right reasons." She offered Daniel a position managing a new roadside assistance program. Daniel asked whether the job would require leaving Mia alone frequently. Claire promised flexible hours and family-friendly scheduling. Daniel accepted after thinking carefully. Within weeks, he transformed the company's roadside service department. He taught drivers to prioritize stranded families, elderly customers, pregnant passengers, and people facing emergencies. His philosophy was simple. A vehicle problem could wait, but a human emergency could not. Meanwhile, Mark heard about Daniel's new position and discovered that the mechanic he had fired was now working directly for Sterling Mobility's CEO. Mark immediately regretted his decision. He called Daniel and apologized, admitting that pressure had made him forget why the garage existed. Daniel accepted the apology, but did not return to the garage. Instead, he offered Mark something unexpected. He asked Claire to include Mark in a management training program focused on emergency customer care. Daniel believed people deserved chances to learn, especially when mistakes came from fear rather than cruelty. Months later, Claire invited Daniel to Sterling Mobility's annual leadership conference. She stood before hundreds of employees and told them about the day a stranger helped her reach the hospital. She explained that Daniel had no idea who she was, yet he treated her life as more important than his schedule. Daniel listened from the audience beside Mia, who proudly held his hand. Claire announced that the company would create an annual Daniel Brooks Community Service Award for employees who helped others without expecting recognition. Daniel became emotional, realizing that his difficult decision had created something much larger than a job. After the ceremony, Claire approached Daniel with her baby in her arms. She thanked him again, but Daniel laughed gently. "You already thanked me." Claire smiled. "I know, but this time I'm thanking you for reminding everyone that kindness is never a wasted decision." Daniel looked at Mia proudly. Daniel eventually became one of Sterling Mobility's most respected leaders, but he never forgot the morning that changed everything. Losing his job had frightened him, yet helping Claire had opened a door he could never have imagined. He learned that doing the right thing might cost something today, but sometimes changes tomorrow forever.